Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Look, I know that we're seeing cases go up here in our state, obviously, but I think there's a lot of things that go into that as well as more testing, so I don't want people to panic. Continue practicing social distancing. Continue to wash your hands. Use common sense. Respect other people when you're out and about. We'll be fine. Just continue, like I said, to use your head, and we're going to be all right in all this. But look, as we always start off the show, we'll continue to do so. It goes without saying that I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. What they do day in and day out, we thank them so much, especially with what's going on with COVID-19. I think it's highlighted, but these people put themselves on the front line each and every day. We're so grateful for them. If you're one of those and you're listening, thank you for listening. Hopefully we can, bring you a distraction of whatever's going on right now. But, it's been great because, I have friends and family on both sides of these, and here the support that you get from the community is great as well. But we thank you guys for putting yourself out there, putting your lives on the line each and every day. If you're a healthcare worker, to help get people better, and if you're a first responder, protecting us, getting us to where we need to be. It's such a great thing. And I understand with everything going on right now, there's so many great first responders out there. Let's make that very known. I want to make that very clear. Don't let a few bad eggs ruin the entire ones. But, Coach, look, I know we talk about as well the healthcare, we talk about first responders and healthcare workers. It goes without saying, too, grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there. We thank them so much for putting themselves out there. Coach, I know you feel the same way, but how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, and absolutely I feel exactly the same way. I'm just glad to get a chance to say each and every day how much we appreciate those people who have done so much and are still doing so much to keep life as normal as it can be. And keep your spirits up. Hey, things are going to get better. In fact, they may be better than they've ever been once we get this done, get back, and get everybody humming again.
Absolutely, Coach. I think that's very important. We always try to bring optimism and be positive here. It doesn't cost anybody anything to be positive in a time right now, and I think it's very important that we are positive. Same thing when this whole COVID-19 started. Everybody, we told them, be positive. We're going to get through this. We're going to be stronger, and I agree. I think it's a tough time right now for a lot of people. If you've lost your job, we apologize. We hate that for you, but look, things are going to look up. We're going to move forward. We've already moved forward a little bit, but the one thing I will say, educate yourself. Don't just let media educate you on this. Do a little work of your own before you just go believe in what you see on the TV. Just making that very clear for everybody, because it can sway you one way or the other. But anyway, Coach, listen, we got plenty to talk about here. Look, I will say this. Dr. Anthony Fauci, of course, said football teams would need to emulate plans by the NBA and MLS for a bubble format or consider not playing in 2020 due to the coronavirus. He talks about unless players are essentially in a bubble, insulated from the community, and that they are tested every day, it would be very hard to see how football is able to be played this fall. If there's a second wave, which is certainly a possibility, it would be complicated by the predictable flu season. Football may not happen this year. And, Coach, so, hearing that, and then I will go on the other side, NFL's chief medical officer goes on to say, we do not feel it's practical or appropriate to construct a bubble. League will rely on robust contact tracing, education, testing. Anyone who tests positive will be isolated until medically appropriate to return. Coach, we're hearing this, and for Fauci, look, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to act like an expert. I'm not even going to speak on that side of it. I will say I've heard that this is the same man that's told us to wear a mask, not told us to wear a mask, has told us we're good to go. He just the other day said baseball, he expected to return. They'll be fine, and now he's saying, well, they need to end it soon. We're hearing different messages back and forth at this point, Coach. But for him to say, "Look, you need to play in a bubble format or not play at all," NFL's chief medical officer goes out here and understand that there is a ton of risk. And for people to say, "Well, yeah, the chief medical officer would say that because it's the NFL and there's a lot of money that's involved in that," understand these people are also liable for a lot of things as well. If they do this wrong, they are going to be on the hook for it. So it's not like they're just going to pass it on. No, they're going to be the ones responsible for it, and they understand that as well. So I just want to say that and to make that very clear to people. But, Coach, to say that you either play in a bubble format like the NBA and the MLS or you don't play at all, I think that's insane, especially when you're talking about You got over 100 players on a roster total when you're talking about everybody here. And for the NBA to have 12 guys on a roster, Coach, what do you make of these claims right now?
Well, they're ridiculous, and Fauci wouldn't know if the football is pumped up or stuff. He has no idea, and I really think somebody should check his whole card. I give him credit for being a very educated person in the medical field, and he's done some good things, I'm sure. I've not looked up all his record. I've just heard a couple of people question some of his dealings in the past, having to do with claiming something similar to a pandemic and having some interest in companies that benefited from it. I don't know. I that's just hearsay. That's something that somebody has insinuated before. But I do know this. I know that is a ridiculous statement by Fauci, and he's made some others. So, there's no way that you can put football, whether it be college, and certainly not college, even the NFL. You can't put the NFL, 32 teams in a bubble. What the heck are you talking about? Having said that, let's just chalk it up to where it came from, and we'll move on to something a heck of a lot better subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, look, Coach, and I will say this, once again, the thing that gets me is the going back and forth. I think right now people just want, let us know what's going on. We're hearing a lot of people, when you're talking about Major League Baseball, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Just let us know when we're ready to play. That's basically what it is. When you figured out what you're going to do, let us know. So regardless, Coach, look, I don't know, I think this is great news moving forward. The NCAA, we talked about their oversight committee, but the NCAA has now approved a 6-week practice plan. Now, it was basically everybody knew it was going to be approved, but it's officially approved now. Of course, players, the practice plans that are going on right now with strength and conditioning, coaches are not allowed to oversee the workouts, be around the players. The players basically are kind of on their own with instructions obviously going on. Strict cleaning protocols are going on and these things. Now, I will say this because I know it's going to come up to a lot of people in your minds is we're seeing players test positive. Well, understand that's a part of this. Like, players are going to test positive. It's a matter of fact of the medical care they are receiving is top medical care. When they're being quarantined, they are being taken care of. These guys, they're not forgotten. Trust me, these guys are investments to these universities and what they mean to them. So understand that each university wants to play football. They want to be able to try to salvage what they can, especially of this year. They want to play a full football season. They want to get back to normal. So, look, they're doing everything they can. Understand that moving forward. But with this being approved, of course, the plan approved begins with a summer access period for the football coaching staff on July 15th through the 25th. And players can have 8 hours of weight training, conditioning, and film review. The second part of the plan involves an enhanced summer access period of 2 weeks where the coaches can have 20 hours of countable athletically related activities a week. And then the activities on July 26th can include up to 8 hours per week for weight training, conditioning, and film review. No more than 1 hour per day for walkthrough, which may include the use of a football, and up to 1 hour per day for meetings. And this is moving forward, of course, to July 26th and beyond there. And then they get, of course, where 29 days before they play, they can start doing practicing, full equipment, things like that. After they do a 5-day acclimation period, which is typical for every team, even in high school, you go through an acclimation period, getting your guys prepared before you put those pads on, especially in the summer. Coach, I think this is great news moving forward. So far, like I said, there are guys that are testing positive, absolutely. Some, I think, are testing more positive than others. We're seeing, like, I think Texas today had 10 more players test positive, but at the same time, we're seeing the majority of the teams have almost nobody test positive, maybe 1 or 2 guys test positive. So I think we have to look at it. If we're going to look at one side, we got to look at the other side, and things are looking up for college football season.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that, and you really have to think about, you have to put it all in perspective. When you're talking about kids that age, we've said, it's very difficult to think that they're going to appropriately quarantine themselves. They're going to be out and about on the streets and getting with other people. There's just no question about that. And then when you look at the areas that their teams are located in. It gives them even more. If they're large cities, it gives them if a number of the kids come from larger or more active cities, it gives them more reason not to quarantine properly. So, given all that, it's not unusual to find this, but they'll be given, as you said, the best in medical treatment. And I'm sure at their age, they'll be through this and be ready to play. So they just got to make sure they keep testing. And as they test and as they lose control of these kids, I think this is going to be an interesting study. JP is keeping a close watch on when they have them, under the appropriate quarantine type situation. But if they leave campus to go home or something like that, if there are additional positive tests, and if they came after such a visit, so that'll be an interesting step too.
Yeah, I think that's important, Coach, because, we see Ohio State, and I think SMU has done it now along with some other schools. We talked about the waivers and how a lot of people say, well, they're basically forcing the players. No, it's keeping everybody accountable in this situation. But, Coach, when you look at this, it's also a big responsibility. The schools can do whatever they can to be able to keep these kids and keep them under wraps and quarantine and make sure they stay in their prescribed little areas here and there. But the players have the responsibility because there's over 100 players on these rosters, and the schools don't have the manpower to be able to watch these kids. And we know if you've been in college, and you know somebody that would have done this that sneaks out. They don't want to be just staying on campus all the time. They want to maybe they're old enough to have a drink. They want to go to the bar. They want to go hang out at a restaurant with somebody. We're seeing, with these cities that do have openings, obviously. And, with the University of Texas, Austin is one of them in Texas. They've opened up for quite some time now. The players could go out. And I think that's where the waivers come in. Like, if they catch these guys, you got to boot them, because if they're not on board with you and what you're trying to do and understanding and taking this seriously, you got to move on. And I think that's where people see this and they go, see, the players are testing positive. Well, a lot of this is on the players to do the right thing as well. So we need to hold everybody accountable. Once again, that's why I like the waivers. I think it puts everybody in accountability. Everybody's understanding what's going on and what they have to do to move forward. And if they're not comfortable with it, they don't have to sign it. But it's simply, if you don't sign it, well, you're not going to play, obviously. And there's plenty of people that want to. So I want to make that very clear, because I want everybody to understand both sides of the spectrum on all this. Coach, understanding both sides here, I don't really Greg McElroy, which, the former Alabama quarterback, you see him on SEC Network all the time, coming out about, he's talking about Mac Jones and Jamie Newman. He was talking about the SEC quarterbacks. And it goes on to say, I think Newman's way more talented. I mean, I don't think it's really close. I don't think it's even comparable, giving Jamie Newman's upside. He said, of course, talking to the Atlanta-based radio show, he said, listen, guys, we're talking about a top 5 pick possibility here with Jamie Newman. He has that kind of upside. He's ridiculous. There are some nuances to his game that he needs to learn, but as far as talent is concerned, there's not many out there in college football like him. He goes on to talk about, listen, Mac Jones is a good quarterback, but it's not even close compared to Newman. Coach, I will disagree, because he is putting – you say upside, but the upside to me personally, Coach, is like the word potential that you hate. And I understand what you mean by that is you're putting basically saying this guy the potential is great, when we know Mac Jones went and performed for Alabama, went out and did a great job throwing for over 1,000 yards and replacing Tua. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, Coach.
And listen, I have said before, who the heck is Jamie Newman? I don't even know who this kid is. I don't know what he's done at Wake Forest, but I do know one thing for sure. He has not played against the competition of an Alabama or a Florida or a Georgia or anybody else. Now, he's going to transfer to Georgia. And all of a sudden, here's a guy, I think some writer at some publication even named him as the number 1 SEC quarterback going into the season. You've got to be kidding me. I have no idea. Listen, I'm not so sure that the kid that transferred from Southern Cal might end up being the quarterback there. But having said that, I think McElroy is so far off base that really, really, bottom line is it affects his credibility. Matt Jones, if you look at the stats and what he did, being called on to go in absolutely the biggest games of the year, and go in and do what he did and throw for over 1,000 yards. I think he had something like 12 or 13 touchdowns. Two interceptions were terrible that everybody points back to because they were pick sixes in a ball game that wasn't a huge ball game. But overall, this guy did an outstanding job, and I think he and Trask are by far the two best quarterbacks in the SEC going into the season. Now, going into the season, we still have a quarterback from Stanford who transferred to Mississippi State, and we'll see what happens with some other quarterbacks who may really come on that going down the road. But right now, I would take Jones and Trask as the two best quarterbacks in the league. And I don't know where Jamie Newman fits. He may be a great one, but I don't know how he's getting on this pub this soon.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at it, I want to make this very clear for people. And, you can take Western Carolina out of this, but when he stepped in after Mississippi State, now against Arkansas, he threw for over 200 yards coming in, and you can call that garbage time. That's fine. I would respect that. But, again, coming in against Mississippi State at halftime there, went 7 for 11 for 94 yards, a game where I think everybody in Alabama was shocked just because of Tua going down. And I just can't imagine. Now, Western Carolina threw for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns. Okay, now we're going to get into this. Now, against Auburn, you can say that the 2 pick sixes actually, yeah, they're important for sure. Threw for over 300, almost 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And then against Michigan. Remember Michigan, this was a team that we talk about how good their defense was, how many guys got drafted in the NFL off that defense. Threw for 327 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, on a spotlight game where a lot of people are like, all right, this is Mac Jones' opportunity. This is his audition because Tua's gone now. Coach, when you look at it from the whole piece of work here, over 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 186. This is, almost his completion percentage is 1 point away from 70% at 69%. Well, when you look at him and then look at the team that he's got coming back as well, that's where I'm with you. I'm not buying Jamie Newman because look, what he did in the ACC is great, absolutely great. I'm not knocking him. He looks like a good quarterback. He did a good job for what he had last year. But we're putting so much into this, and not only that, I know they're changing offenses. There's so many changes going around here. And now, once again, the big thing that I mentioned that's different for a lot of people that we need to understand, and if you're an SEC fan, you know that the pressure is completely different when you step into the SEC. So now the pressure's on his back. He is also leading a team that is trying to make a national championship. Not a team like Mississippi State that's just trying to find their way. This is a team that if you don't go out and win 11, maybe 12 games, that you're looked upon as a loser. I mean, it's just what it is. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but the pressure is mounting on him. And I agree with you. If JT Daniels, if he gets approved to be able to play immediately, we could even be talking about JT Daniels just because of the style offense that he plays fits that system a little bit more. But we'll see. I mean, as for Garrett McElroy, I don't think he's getting any invites from Saban to Tuscaloosa anytime soon. But, Coach, I agree with you on that. So, listen, we got to go to a break, though, Coach. When we come back, we're going to talk about should the Browns sign Cam Newton. That is circulating right now. We'll talk about some people on some morning shows maybe you've heard of that had some things to say. And growing consensus for college football playoff expansion. Should it be here sooner rather than later? We'll talk about all that and more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Digital marketing. Words you hear a lot in today's world, but what exactly does it mean? Where do you even get started? Our team at Cat Country 98.7, News Radio 92.3, ESPN Pensacola, and Pensacola's Playlist 94.5's in-house digital marketing team is here to help you navigate the changing and fast-growing landscape of digital advertising. Join us for a free online webinar on June 23rd and learn how to leverage Amazon's massive user data to put your business's message in front of your ideal customer. Head to our Facebook page to get registered today. At Costello's Butcher Shop and Deli, you'll find a great selection of specialty and exotic meats. From choice Wagyu, competition-grade briskets, pork, and the seasonings to go with it, all cut to order. From fine wine to cheese and desserts. Yes, delicious fresh cannolis to order. And Costello's has Boar's Head lunch sandwiches from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Stop in today for one of the area's best butcher shop meats and top deli items. It's Costello's Butcher Shop and Deli, a great place to meet up on the west side of Pensacola.
Over the last few months, we've realized that those excuses of not doing yard work, you've had to pay up. No excuses to get fat eating a bunch of rancid chicken wings and 3 pitchers because it's football Sunday. Tired of trying to pronounce names overseas at 4 a.m. that we don't know in Korea in baseball. But sports is coming back, and we're optimistic to carry all the biggest games on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 each and every night on ESPN Pensacola. Thank God all of this didn't happen during college football season.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Thursday afternoon, hope you're doing well. We're talking some football with you as always. And Coach, look, it's we talk about Cam Newton and where he's going to sign. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know where this came from. We haven't heard anything from any true sources outside of guys like Dominique Foxworth and Marcus Spears. It just popped up that, of course, the Browns, they said, should sign Cam Newton. Now, before we get into this, Coach, and I deflect it over to you, I want to make very clear, we've talked about Baker Mayfield before. This guy, we're a year removed. If you take away last year, I know that he had a sophomore slump. Things were different. Didn't have the greatest year. People thought the Browns that were going to be better than what they were, and they should have been, obviously. But let's remember a couple things to set the table here. The coaching staff changes have been just constant for Baker Mayfield since he's been drafted. Now, in college, I wasn't the biggest Baker Mayfield fan, but then again, it's because he played for Oklahoma and, whatever. But he's a great player, a great competitor. Coming in here, it said, now Dominique Foxworth says it's not the Browns' job to develop Baker Mayfield, which I obviously disagree with. I think anytime you bring a young quarterback in, you're supposed to help develop them to some extent. I mean, look, we're talking about Tua. If the Dolphins don't develop Tua, then that's a shame on them. Why even draft a quarterback if you're not going to develop them? Just go get a veteran that's already developed and move forward. I can't believe he even said that, especially Dominique Foxworth being somebody that's played in the NFL and understand how it is. But, Coach, basically saying Marcus Spears goes on to say, look, Baker's not elite. Cam Newton's elite. Why even waste your time? We need to bring this guy in here. He said he doesn't have to sit back he doesn't have to run anymore. He can sit behind that offensive line and be a drop back passer, which again, Coach, I will disagree with, because what makes Cam Newton so good is the fact that he can run the football. He makes defenses stay honest on that. So when you look at his numbers just sitting in the pocket, Coach's numbers are not very good. They're very mediocre, to say the least. Now, for people to say, well, he's a great downfield passer, yes, he does throw the deep ball pretty well. But once again, it's on the fact of the defenses have to bite up because he's going to run. Now, we know with the injuries that Cam has faced, running is probably not going to be a big part of his game moving forward. But that's where I look at Cam Newton and I say, yes, he has been good. He has been a good quarterback. But you can compare some of his stats in his last 40 games to a guy like Tyrod Taylor, and Tyrod Taylor is right on his heels. And I want to make that very clear. So, Coach, when you look at this, I just think this is insane. I mean, when you look at Baker Mayfield, understand people need to stop and look at the whole thing here, not just the stats of Baker Mayfield and what he's gone through. They brought a new offense in. Stefanski's in there. They added another tight end for him that will actually be healthy, and Austin Hooper. We know how good he was in Atlanta. They built the offensive line. This is a team that built themselves around Baker Mayfield. You drafted him first overall. If you bring in Cam Newton, and I'll just say let's say they do this, and it doesn't work out. If you think Cam is going to be the backup, you're a fool. Let's just call it what it is. And if you think that Cam being a backup won't bring any distraction to that offense and that team overall in that locker room, I think you need to check yourself real quick, Coach. I can't imagine. This would be a horrible idea for the Browns to bring in Cam Newton.
Well, you outlined it well, and it would be a terrible decision to bring him in there. And I couldn't disagree with all that was said by Foxworth and
Marcus Spears.
Marcus Spears, that to say, even insinuate that he is an elite quarterback is folly. They don't know what they're talking about. He has his accuracy, and throwing the football is what elite quarterbacks can do, and do very, very well in the National Football League. He's not an elite quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. He's had a couple of good years, no doubt about that. But you're right about the locker room. My goodness, that has possible disaster written all over it. When you get that Baker Mayfield, yes, being the number one pick, and the job that he did really his rookie year, and he's been there 2 years now. He's been through 3 coaching changes. Unbelievable. But it is their job to develop a kid you take number 1 overall in the draft. If you lose that pick, it's hurt your football team for a long time, maybe even a decade. So you have to do everything you can to develop that number 1 choice, no doubt about it. And I agree with you totally. I think it's a bad decision to bring him in there, and I don't know where he would fit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. I think that, with Cam Newton, we know that, look, he has even come out and he at one time he said he was okay with being a backup. Now it seems that he's waiting because he wants to wait to see if there's an opportunity for him to be a starter somewhere. I just don't know what Cam Newton you're going to get. And listen, we've seen him be good, but at the same time, now with the injuries that he's had, he cannot run the football like he used to. You're not going to fool me into thinking that he's going to go back to the old Cam. He's going to be a little bit different when you have these injuries. The game changes a little bit for you, and for him to be that big bruising guy. This is where we look at a guy, even like a big Ben Roethlisberger, that can't really get away from a whole lot of people. And we talk about, look, he's got to find a way to get away from trouble, and that's why he keeps getting injured, because he's a battering ram. He's a big, bruising guy, but he's taken so many hits for so long. And that's why I look at Cam. Cam is a running quarterback. That's what makes him so good. Go back to his time when Auburn beat Oregon in the national championship game. I don't want to talk about it. But anyway, I just think that's been a part of his game the entire time. And for people to say, well, he can just drop back and throw, you are changing everything that he has done for his entire career. Let's make that very clear.
Yeah, you're right. He is not that. And the other thing that people have to remember now, teams have been unable to get him in and give him a complete physical, especially on those legs. If he comes in the least bit debilitated because of injuries to the legs, he's not going to be available very long. It's going to happen again. I can assure you, you're right. I mean, it's just part of his DNA. If he sees a breakdown and protects in any way, he's going to take off. So I don't know who would even take a chance on him unless they got a total clearance from their medical team. I mean, a total clearance from the medical team.
Yeah, it's it is what it is, I guess. And for people seeing Cam Newton out there throwing to Odell Beckham Jr., which is where a lot of this stirred up, was just a simple video of him working out with him and throwing passes to him. Understand throwing passes to against the air, like against nobody, is a night and day difference. It's not even close. So, yes, he can throw the football. There's a lot of people that you could put on film that can go throw the football and look good out there. But it's going to be whenever the pressure's against him. But you know what? Hopefully the Browns, they've made plenty of mistakes. They obviously do whatever they want, but I think investing, they've shown that they want to invest in Baker Mayfield. And let's make it clear that the Browns have not said anything about getting a guy like Cam Newton. I think they're very content with a guy like Baker Mayfield and building him up for the future. It's a matter of getting their feet in the ground there and getting Baker Mayfield on track with finally. Hopefully he doesn't have another coaching change, because what he's been able to go through is insane, to say the very least. But, Coach, I want to go to the college football side of things here real quick before we go to break. There's growing consensus right now for the college football expansion, playoff expansion, obviously. Right now, obviously, it's 4 teams. People want to see 8 teams, which I would like 8 teams. But here's the thing, Coach. 2025 is when the contract runs out for the 4-team playoff. People are pushing for it, and I get right now, especially with this year, it'd be great to try it out, but it's not going to happen. But, Coach, are we going to see a college football playoff expansion before 2025? And do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea moving forward?
Well, let's keep in mind that, I may, as I have thought about this overall, I may be in favor of an 8-team playoff. But keep in mind, when you get 8 teams in there, then you're going to have a certain part of the population out there. They're going to be drumming. The drum beat's going to go big time for 10 and 12 and 14. It's going to you can never satisfy it. They want everybody in there. So I think absolute maximum would be 8. And I think really when you look at the 4, you have to give some credit to the fact that other than 1 year, I think people would have to agree wholeheartedly that the top 4 teams in the country got in, and the 5th team that would have gotten in is a distance below those 4. So they haven't. There are not too many mistakes that have been made. There are a lot of teams that obviously have fans that would like to see them expanded playoff base, thinking that's going to automatically get their team in the playoffs. Not going to happen. And other teams that would have been among those top 4, quite frankly, would have been embarrassed. So there's room for discussion totally about the playoff system. And right now, it's hard to find too much fault with them, other than the fact that you could see in the future where there are going to be legitimately maybe 6, 7 teams that you really feel should be involved in it. And if they went to 8, they could do that. And then, of course, I'll promise you the 8th team, probably the 7th and 8th teams are going to get waxed. But anyway, that's the way I see the playoff system.
Yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see it changing. I really don't see it changing before the this 14 playoff system has run its course.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at it from a fan perspective, I think, of course, you want more teams. You look at the FCS playoffs with 16 teams, it's not going to happen. Go ahead and get that in your mind. And that would be crazy. But regardless, Coach, I think you're right. We need to understand this. And listen, my Oregon Ducks had their opportunity. If they would have beat Arizona State, then they simply would have been in. They would have probably been the fourth team in there because they were on track, and they lost, especially when the way they finished against Utah. They did a great job. But I have to be honest and look at my team. And if you're a true fan out there, look at your team and compare your team to these other teams in the playoff. When you look at the Ohio States, when you look at Clemson, when you look at a team like LSU last year, can your team truly compete? I mean, we look at Oklahoma, and whether you agree or disagree Oklahoma should have been in there, it doesn't matter. I mean, Oklahoma was outmatched. And if you look at, say, well, if you're an Alabama fan and your team should have been in there, well, one, you shouldn't have lost to Auburn. But and not to rub salt in the wound, trust me, but you have to handle your business. That's a part of this. And when I look at it, Coach, Alabama without Tua, I mean, with Tua, they lost. They just simply lost. And so that you put your best player, you put Mac Jones in there. Mac Jones is a little bit of a different style quarterback, but I just think people need to be realistic on things. And as a fan, listen, I'm with you. As a fan, I want more teams. But we have to look at, is it truly broken what's going on right now? And I just don't think it is. But no, regardless, Coach, listen, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that exact thing, college football, sorting college football's 2020 contenders, who's a pretender moving on, and we'll talk about some NFL news, talk about some quarterbacks and defenses that you need to keep an eye out for. All that and more right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Over the last few months, we've realized that those excuses of not doing yard work, you've had to pay up. No excuses to get fat eating a bunch of rancid chicken wings and 3 pitchers because it's football Sunday. Tired of trying to pronounce names overseas at 4 a.m. that we don't know in Korea in baseball. But sports is coming back, and we're optimistic to carry all the biggest games on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 each every night on ESPN Pensacola. Thank God all of this didn't happen during college football season. This Thursday at 5:30, tune into the Sports Drive with me, Chad Brillante, when we tee it up with PGA and head pro at Osceola Golf Club, Adrian Stills, for his inside scoop on local golf events and some of his most entertaining stories from the world of golf. Adrian has represented Pensacola at the highest level as a player and a teacher, and is proud to make Pensacola his home. So join him this Thursday at 5:30 on the Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, and get ready to tee it up with the PGA Pro.
I'm Troy Rafferty, and many of you know about my love for sports and my longtime support for our local high school athletes. One thing these fine young people have taught me over the years is this: whether it's on the ball field, in the classroom, or in a court of law, always work your hardest and achieve the best results possible. And that is the commitment we make to our clients and our community.
Levin Papantonio in Pensacola since 1955.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope you're doing well, staying safe out there. We're talking some football with you as always. And Coach, look, we just talked about a little bit about the playoff expansion here. Do we believe it's time to move forward? Do we think it's going to happen from 4 teams? You made some great points about, listen, when you truly break it down, the system isn't broken like a lot of people think. And, Coach, look, we got the playoff contenders here now. Of course, 247 Sports does a great job over there, but they break it down into tiers. And I want to get your take on this. If you believe maybe another team needs to be added, we'll start at the top. I think it's obvious, Coach, when you look at Tier 1, these teams account for 5 of the 6 national titles in the college football playoff era. They're talented, deep, consistent. I mean, these are teams we talk about every single year, and guess what? We're talking about them again this year. Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. Coach, my question, would you put – I mean, when you look at it, these are the real deal teams, and it's hard to argue with it, but has Georgia made it into Tier 1 yet, or do they have to win a national championship to be able to put their name in this in the hat here?
Well, I like those 3, and if anybody was close right now, you'd have to say it was Georgia. So they're very, very close, and it wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings if they put all 4 of them in there. But I'm fine with the 3 right now being in a certain tier. Let's see what the other tiers look like.
Yeah, moving on to tier 1.5 is the way they put it. They have Georgia there, Coach. I think that's a good place for them to be, like you were just talking about. If this team can take it over the edge. Now, I don't think people would scoff too much if they put them in Tier 1, but the team in Georgia, we've talked about them plenty, been so close for so long and can't get it done. The recruiting, we know Kirby Smart and those guys have done a fantastic job. We talked about Jamie Newman and what, how it's supposed to look this year, but once again, we've talked about it as well, Coach. I believe Florida, this could be Florida's year, but Coach, 1.5 is where Georgia stacks up, and I think that's a pretty good place for them.
Yeah, I can buy that one for sure. Yeah,
Coach,
they've done a good job. They've done a good job at Georgia in every respect. Obviously, they've done a good job recruiting, but they've also done a very good job in coaching, technique, improving players that get there, because there's a lot of improvement that has to happen from high school to college, and then also the strategizing from a game plan standpoint, and they've done a good job there. So overall, they've just done a good job at Georgia.
Coach, moving on to Tier 2. Now, this is the way I look at this. Oklahoma is the only team in Tier 2. Now, they made the argument that they've reached the college football playoff 4 times, but, Coach, making the college football playoff 4 times, that goes a lot with, just winning your conference. And when you look at the Big 12, not necessarily the most respected conference, especially when we're talking about complete teams. We saw Oklahoma sneak in there last year. They almost lost 5 different games. And now, granted, the talent at quarterback, Lincoln Riley's done a great job with that team, getting them to compete each and every year. But, Coach, you look at them in Tier 2, when you drop down to Tier 3, you've got teams like Florida, LSU, Notre Dame, and Penn State. Now, this is a team that's either proven it can reach the playoffs or has come close. Florida doesn't really fit either category right now, with Georgia being ahead of them. But back-to-back New Year's 6 wins put the Gators in a position to challenge for a berth this season alongside the other teams in this tier. Coach, you saw LSU what they did last year. A lot of people believe it was a fluke. I don't believe it will be, but I believe they'll have to rebuild that team a little bit. They still have a ton of talent coming back, losing 16 guys and coaching guys on the coaching staff. But, Coach, I would put technically Florida, LSU, Notre Dame, and Penn State in this Tier 2 category, because to me, just making the playoff, that's all well and good, but you have lost on average by 18 points a game in these playoff games. So it's not like you're even competing in these games. To me, that's just more along the lines of the conference you play in. Coach, what say you here? Would you put, in Tier 2 with Oklahoma, would you put Florida, LSU, Notre Dame, and Penn State in that same category?
Well, not Penn State. I don't have a lot of faith in Penn State. I think they're an overrated football team. They get beat. They're going to lose a couple of ball games every year, that at least one that they shouldn't. So I'm not a big. I don't know if Penn State's ever even been in the playoffs. But I do think that at this point, I would put right now, as we stand going into this year, you have to put LSU back in there for what they did last year. They're loaded with talent. Again, when they can put it all together is another story. So certainly with the 16 losses. But I think LSU has to go in there. I think, you can put Oklahoma in there, and I think certainly Florida would be good in there. And I'm not sure who else would fit in there. I'm not sure Notre Dame would fit in there. They may be 2.5 or 3, but we'll see how the next category it comes out.
Yeah, in our next tier, Coach, we've got Auburn, Michigan, Texas, and Texas A&M. Obviously, Auburn fans, my significant other and her family, big-time Auburn fans, so I tread lightly. But they may be upset about being lumped into this underachieving group. And I understand underachieving, meaning we thought they were going to be a little bit better than what they were. And when you look at Michigan, boy, that hits the nail right on the head for thought they were going to be a lot better. Texas, same thing there in Austin. The Texas fans have been waiting for quite some time, and they're getting pretty restless. Texas A&M, I wouldn't say underperforming. I would say that they're getting to the point now where they're building a little more stability with Jimbo Fisher. Just give that team maybe another year or so. I think they're going to be really good this year. But, Coach, Auburn, Michigan, Texas, and Texas A&M, would you group them in the same category?
No, I think down here with those people, or maybe even a little bit before, may even have to go to that 0.5. Here's where you'd have to look at putting Notre Dame and Penn State. You have 0.5. We'll put them in that group, and that we're just talking about there. But I wouldn't have them any higher than that.
Yeah, I would agree. And we talk about Penn State. I do agree with you on Penn State as well, Coach. I haven't made the playoff. A team that, you look at last year, we always hear how good they are. Same thing with Notre Dame. We always hear how good they are. They get so close and they lose a game they shouldn't. When you talk about like Minnesota beating Penn State, that put Minnesota on the map. And, regardless, it's just they haven't been able to figure it out. But, Coach, moving on to the next tier here, 3 Pac-12 teams. The first time a Pac-12 team has been mentioned on this list. My Oregon Ducks are on this, as well as USC and Washington. Now, it's been 3 seasons. We talked about the Pac-12 not being in the playoff for some time. It's been a while since they have 3 seasons they have reached the college football playoff. It hasn't really been close. Of course, Oregon finished 6th last season, Washington 9th the year before. USC ended the 2017 regular season at 8th in the rankings. History says a one-loss Power 5 champion will make the playoff. But, Coach, when you look at this, Oregon, USC, and Washington, I actually kind of agree because they haven't been able to figure it out. I think Oregon's on the up and up in the recruiting that they're doing, and what Mario Cristobal, the way he has rebuilt that program, I actually like it because we're rebuilding with one of the best offensive lines in college football with a good defense moving forward. Of course, Cristobal being an Alabama product, working under Saban, he understands how that works. He's learned a lot from him. But, Coach, my question is USC and Washington. I don't really think Washington look, Jimmy Lake is now there at Washington. I don't know how they're going to be able to compete. USC should be able to compete each and every year because they are in a recruiting hotbed for one. But USC was one of the most prestigious universities. Everybody couldn't wait to go to USC. They used to dominate the Pac-12. Coach, do the 3 Pac-12 members fit in this same category here?
Well, it's all relative what's above them and what's now below them. You've got to look at those 3 programs as being traditionally, tradition meaning pretty much year in, year out. Put it on the field, some of the best athletes in the country and outstanding football teams, all 3 of them. And you can certainly look back at what USC has done over a number of years, and Washington has had some great teams. I like that Washington coaching staff. They've got out there. I think they're a good staff, and I think they recruit well. Of course, they have to recruit. Keep in mind, they have to recruit down into Southern California, as does Oregon, Oregon State, all of them. They have to reach down into Southern Cal to get players. And, of course, USC sits right in the middle of all that talent. People used to say if they could just keep on campus all the talent that surrounds the campus, they could win a national championship, and that there may be some truth to that. It's amazing how UCLA has never ever reached the they've had some good teams in the past, but they've been sporadic. And quite a few years ago, going back, my goodness, quite a few years since UCLA has been that good. But they also are in an ideal location. Now, I think we have to give some credence to Washington, Oregon, and Southern Cal, and as to where they fit. Now you got to get them in there somewhere, because Oregon could reach up in the category or the group that we just went over above them. My goodness, you put Oregon in there against any of those people, and they're not out of the ball game. They're right in there with them. So I think those three are a good choice.
Yeah, I think when you look at Oregon, and Coach is speaking from, this is a team that I love, I follow all the time. Been disappointed because I want them to be so close, and yet they can't finish the job. But I think recruiting, and like I said, Mario Cristobal has done a fantastic job there. I think it's more the perception of the Pac-12, and a lot of people don't understand the Pac-12. They don't watch the Pac-12. They don't stay up late because the games are late. Trust me, I have to take naps to be able to watch Oregon play. But I think it's the perception. And for Oregon, they can make a tremendous statement this year. USC needs to make a statement for their own self, not for anybody else, just for their own self. And, the coaching staff there, of a lot of people questioning why that coach may still be there. But regardless, Coach, look, we got to go to a break. When we come back, the Pro Bowl has been announced. It's going to be in Vegas. Why is that a big deal? Well, we'll talk about it. And the AAC is on the rise. We always talk about the Power 5 teams, a Group of 5 conference. Do we think they can make the playoff and truly make some noise in recruiting? We'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
I'm Troy Rafferty, and many of you know about my love for sports and my longtime support for our local high school athletes. One thing these fine young people have taught me over the years is this: whether it's on the ball field, in the classroom, or in a court of law, always work your hardest and achieve the best results possible. And that is the commitment we make to our clients and our community.
Levin Papantonio in Pensacola since 1955.
Hey, seafood lovers, Shannon's Seafood Kitchen is open with dining inside and outside, as well as touchless curbside pickup. The best catfish this side of the Mississippi, homemade gumbo, jumbo fried shrimp, hand-rolled Filipino-style lumpia, po' boys piled high with fresh seafood, coastal fried flounder, and fresh mullet every day. They continue to take precautions for your safety, whether you dine in or take out. Open Tuesday through Saturday at 11, 7000 Pine Forest Road, or call 941-1982. Shannon's Seafood Kitchen.
Sylvan's success story number 4,092.
In 5th grade, we started noticing some problems, and it really changed our world. Sylvan gives parents like me hope. She's done a complete 180, and she's getting all A's and B's on her own. There's no more fighting about homework. I know that it's gonna get turned in, and I know that she's gonna rock it.
Start your own Sylvan success story. Call 1-800-EDUCATE or visit sylvanlearning.com.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon, final segment of the show. A few minutes here. Coach, now we talk about this as normally wouldn't be news, but I do want to bring it up because it was mentioned. The Pro Bowl in 2021 will be in Las Vegas, and it's not that that's necessarily big news, obviously, but, Coach, we hear a lot of players talk about. Golden Tate even said, listen, you better get the players on the field once they get off the plane. Now it's in Vegas, and he's referencing to, Coach, what I call a glorified touch football game for the NFL. We saw last year in the Pro Bowl. I mean, it's become pathetic. It really has. Players don't want to go out there. They don't want to get injured. They don't want to risk. They have a good time, but it's not football at all, Coach. It's basically just a 7-on-7 touch football game. I mean, Coach, should we get rid of the Pro Bowl, or what changes would you make to the Pro Bowl?
Well, the way it's being played right now, we should get rid of it. It's a shame. I coached in the Pro Bowl 1 year back after the 1977 season. Our staff, the Rams staff, had the NFC in the Pro Bowl. It was in Tampa at the time. And my goodness, what a heck of a game. And everybody went at it to win. It was a dogfight. I mean, guys like Walter Payton going out there, we didn't even know he was on the field. He was running down on kickoffs because he wanted to win so badly. And it was really something to see those Dallas players that we had. I mean, they really got together and took it out on the AFC. So I mean, it was a dogfight. It was a heck of a ball game. I think it ended up being like 16-8 or something like that, 16-10. But it was a heck of a ball game, and there was a lot of hitting going on. And it was, believe me, there was no touch football in that game. But that's changed totally now. And the way it's being played, they should do away with it.
Coach, when you look at that, coaching in a Pro Bowl like that, seeing all those guys from different teams in the locker room come together to go against the AFC there, when you look at that, Coach, first off, how much fun was it coaching in the Pro Bowl with all those guys? But how did those guys that were against each other during the regular season come together in that locker room? I mean, were they all on the same page?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they get together, and you have to make it enjoyable for them, and practice time. But we practiced, and we got the whole system, of course, a watered-down system you'd have to do for an all-star game, but it was sufficient. I mean, we had a number of passing plays, running plays, we had screens, draws. We had the whole package, and it took some time to get that in. But they're so sharp, those guys that get there, you get a heck of a lot more done with them. But they got together, and it was quite something to see. It was really a great experience. That Pro Bowl at that time. I'm sure it's a little different now.
Yeah, it's that, Coach. Hearing that is so refreshing. Just being an NFL fan, not a fan of the Pro Bowl. Like I said, the glorified 7-on-7 touch football game. But that is awesome. You talk about Walter Payton running down the field, all that kind of stuff. That is great. Great to hear. And it's a shame that it's come to this, but I agree with you. I think it's time to get rid of it. But Coach, that sound means it's time for us to go as usual. Listen, we didn't get to everything, but guess what? We're going to get after it tomorrow, Coach. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. I look forward to tomorrow as always. Thank you, JP.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it, and appreciate our listeners out there. Listen, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
First Take, your take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 80, and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. If you're all fancy pants, you can just tell your smart speakers to play ESPN Radio. It'll get you right to us also. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and we start the hour with the headlines that you need to know. Starts with some COVID-19 headlines. This is big in the college football world. Texas telling everybody that 13 football players have confirmed positive coronavirus test results, or are presumed positive, according to Alan Harden. That's the school's senior associate athletics director for sports medicine and performance. Texas says all 13 players are now self-isolating, and 10 more identified through contract tracing are in self-quarantine, but asymptomatic at this time. In addition, 4 players have tested positive for the COVID-19 antibodies. So this is what we know at this point for them as Texas gets rolling at this point. Remember, Kansas State officials reported Wednesday night that 8 Wildcats athletes tested positive for COVID-19. That's out of 130 tested. So as players begin workouts, we're going to see more and more of this. Next up on the headlines you need, a little bit of fun headline from the college football world. You know what? I'm going to admit, I'm going to be sad to see the Belk Bowl gone, but I'm going to be happy to see what happens with the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl. Woo! Duke's Mayonnaise, the new title sponsor of the regular season college football game and postseason bowl game, played in Charlotte. They replaced Belk, whose contract had ended last year. We all know that Belk had one of the best social medias around any bowl game anywhere, so I am interested to see what the Duke's Mayo Classic will look like. The Duke's Mayo Classic will feature Notre Dame against Wake Forest September 26th at Bank of America Stadium, home of the Carolina Panthers, and then the Duke's Mayo Bowl will be held at the same site at a date to be determined later, and feature a matchup between teams from the ACC and Big Ten. The Duke's Mayo Bowl has a nice ring to it, I'm not going to lie. And lastly, on the headlines that you need, Dr. Anthony Fauci saying football needs to be played in a bubble format in 2020. He said football teams would need to emulate plans by the NBA and MLS for a bubble format or consider not playing in 2020. His quote, unless players are essentially in a bubble, insulated from the community, and they're tested nearly